All right, Josh, welcome back to part two. Thank you for joining me again here. And in part one, we talked about your journey and many other interesting things. So in part two, we want to go more in depth, right?
Yeah.
So what we agreed on is that one of the main topics we want to cover today is the skepticism about mindset work. So can you elaborate what do you mean exactly with that, and maybe some questions you have here?
Yeah. So, as someone who came up and, like throughout my schooling as someone really in depth in STEM, like science and research, and most of my education was somewhere in STEM, right? So when I am presented with some sort of, like coaching or instruction, I'm very interested in how this can directly benefit me. So, when something like, mindset work is presented, my initial thought is like, okay, I've worked with a therapist before. That's been hugely beneficial for my personal life. So where the skepticism comes in is, as most poker players know, poker is a very tactical game and there's lots of strategy involved. And so where the skepticism comes in is like, okay, if I was playing a chess game, how would elevation in mindset and like a more stable mental state, how would that benefit me? And obviously there's differences in chess and poker, which is where mindset coaching comes in, in a huge way, right? Because like variance is a massive thing in poker, especially relative to something like chess. So I wanted to probe you a little bit on that, about the skepticism regarding mindset coaching. So the first thing that comes to mind is, so this is kind of a broad question, but feel free to go in whatever direction you'd like. How would mindset coaching directly affect my decision-making ability in game?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, I want to say, I think it's very common that a lot of people are skeptical when it comes to mindset work. And I understand that. I had a conversation with Ben Heath about that. And Ben Heath said, like before he worked with a mindset coach, he was also very skeptical because it was not tangible. But after it, you see the big difference. So I think a lot of people that say like, I'm skeptical, maybe they should take a deeper look into this. And I give you a good analogy. So let's say you have a Ferrari, all right? A Ferrari can drive very fast.
Right.
And you own that Ferrari, but you're only allowed to drive 10% or 20% of its capacity. You would say like, why do I have a Ferrari, right?
Right.
You don't use the full potential of that Ferrari. And this is how a lot of poker players basically behave, or like the problem that a lot of poker players have. They are a Ferrari. A lot of them have amazing potential. I see this day in, day out. They come to me, they have so much potential, but they only use 10, 20, 30% of their capacity. Same with the Ferrari. If you only take 10, 20% of that Ferrari, you will not feel really happy, right? Because you can like drive faster, right? So I think the way it impacts you, let's start with the most obvious way, all right? How it impacts your decision-making. Tilt, right? One thing I want to say for everyone who is watching, mindset work is much more than tilt. A lot of people say, I don't tilt, I don't need a mindset coach. That's the big leak in mindset already. It's not just talking about tilt. There's so much more. Stress could be one topic. That's why I think some chess players could also need a mindset coach, right? Because we deal with stress, structure, for example, right? Some people have to schedule a call like multiple times to like find time and like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so busy, I forgot. Yeah, the third time already. Yeah. Yeah. So
Right.
Some people have
Yeah.
no structure, and we talk about like self-doubt, fear, meditation, visualization, also happiness topics, right? So it can be a very, very big portion. Also, what I do with my clients at the moment, I fly to the EPT in Barcelona and I do a preparation, right? How to not burn out mentally, physically, which tournaments to choose. And like you see, like, right, we can go so much into depth. So it's also sports psychology. But let's say with Tilt for a second. I have a good story here. There was a guy came to me. He's kind of well known. I will not say his name. He came to me and he said, yeah, man, I heard about you in like different YouTube videos and blah, blah, blah. And I'm interested in your coaching. Yeah? So I told him everything about the coaching and how I work and everything. And he's like, I don't know, like I'm still skeptical. And he's told me right in the beginning, he has a huge tilt problem. All right. And he's playing like cash game super high. And I'm like, I just asked him, like, how much does it cost you to work with me? Yeah. Compared to like you continuing to like tilt and spewing money. Of course, it's plus CV to work with you, right? I would like save money, yeah? But I'm still skeptical. I think no one can solve this. I'm like, all right, yeah? And then he said, I don't want to do it. I'm like, all right. What happened was 3 months later, he was calling me, nearly crying on the phone, nearly crying. I'm so sorry, please, can we work together? Because what happened, for the next 3 months, he was spewing money, multiple hundreds or thousands of dollars. And then in the last session before he called me, he was tilting so much that he was destroying his phone and his laptop. He's punching through his laptop. So,
Man.
all together, yeah. He lost, I think, 10 grand by not working with me.
Yeah,
and I told
minimum,
him,
yeah.
minimum, yeah, minimum.
Yeah.
And then of course, he regretted it. And funny enough, we solved his tilt issue. And I said to him, like, why haven't we started earlier? And he's like, yeah, man, we're getting smarter, yeah, with time.
Yeah.
And it was a costly mistake for him, obviously, right? So in this regard, very obvious with tilt, it improves your decision making. But let me give you another example. When we talk about stress, if you're super stressed, of course you cannot make the best decisions because you're like, oh man, I'm losing again. I'm in a downswing. I know I have to like check raise here in this spot, but I'm like I have so much stress to like pay my rent, or like I'm in a downswing. Let's just fold, right? Or let's just call or whatever, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, or also with fitness, a lot of people come to me and they say, I cannot keep my focus for long hours. Most of the time, there are people that either have a problem with sleep, nutrition, or exercise. A lot of times it's one of these three. And then they like the focus goes down after hour 3, 4, 5, whatever. Yeah. And then of course, if I like for my clients, I have nutrition plans, exercise plans, a shopping list, what to eat, what not to eat, what to eat during the session, what to eat before the session. So like they get like full guides on nutrition and sleep. I have a sleep PDF and everything, right? And if they improve their sleep and nutrition and exercise, all of a sudden they can be focused longer and make more money. This is also a reason why I don't charge per hour, right? If people don't know me, if they see this, I'm not charging per hour. I think for a mindset coach, it makes no sense because I think all investments have to be plus EV. So that's why I'm working with my clients for multiple weeks. So ideally I can pay myself off. And then it's much easier to make the math because within 1 hour, how much does 1 hour really, like give you in return? But multiple weeks, yeah, really taking you by the hand and guiding you along the way can very obvious be even higher return.
Yeah, I mean, mental game is funny in that way, in the sense that like, if I think about some of the most productive changes I've had over, the past few years as an adult, a lot of those changes took, weeks or months at a minimum to make any significant like positive impact to my life. I mean, including the negative ones, one thing I do really well is I go to the gym every day. It's just a habit I got into in college, and I just never quit. A habit I'm bad at is my diet. And if I look back at how these things have progressed or regressed, it's very clear that if I just like made it was just all subtle changes over the course of like a very long period of time. So, you know, if I'm thinking about my mental game plan, it would only make sense that I'm making some sort of like conceited effort. Maybe not like a huge, maybe I'm not setting aside 2 hours every day, but maybe I'm setting aside 10 minutes to meditate or journal every day. As far as like mental health goes, journaling 5 minutes a day has been hugely beneficial for me. And it wasn't some massive change I made in my life. It was just this conceited effort I made every day. And I noticed like this positive impact. And I would imagine similar thing goes for mental coaching.
Mm-hmm. Of course, things like meditation, journaling, eating better, sleeping better. These are the very obvious things that you hear everywhere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And as I said in our first part of the interview, we have different layers to it. Some people, maybe you're one of them. A mindset coach tells you like, do the journaling, look more on your diet, and bam, 90%.
I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. No.
Some people are like that, right? And they're like, oh, thank you, man. I got some good tips here and there, and a lot of things changed. But with other people, you need to dig deeper. It's not just like, oh, journal and all your problems are solved, or like do meditation and then like you're a new human being.
No. I mean, honestly, a lot of the positive changes I made over the course of my lifetime have just been like, I'm tired of how my old life was, and so I just started to put in a little bit of effort, and I noticed some positive changes, and then I stuck with it, and that's how a lot of the things that create a lot of positive impact in my life. That's the reason I keep them around, is just, I just, over the course of time, I noticed how much better my life got.
One thing I want to say here as well is, just to understand this correctly, as a poker player, you are basically the company, right? Your body, your mind, you're the company. And what do like the best companies do, right? Like the most famous companies like Apple, Microsoft, and so on. They invest in themselves, in the company, in terms of helping the employees, or like, like bringing knowledge into the company, or like good food, like I think in a lot of companies you can eat for free, drink for free. Right. You have chefs that cook for the employees and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And as a poker player, it's basically the same. You're the company, and you have to try to do everything to improve the quality of the company, quality of decision making, quality of like everything, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think mental game is so important. And sometimes the problem is in the very like front of the company, like change nutrition, right? Improve sleep. But sometimes you really have to like dig deeper in the company and really take a deeper look and see which processes need to be changed or improved.
That is another point I was meaning to bring up today was how nuanced some of these issues can be, because for instance, we talked last time, I think it was several days ago, but between then and now, of course, now my brain is sort of like primed to start thinking about mental game. And so between then and now, like I've been playing and just noticed like, was the decision I just made, would that have been influenced on my current mental state or emotional state? And I've been a bit more aware. And basically what I've concluded is that that seems very insignificant until you pay any sort of attention to it.
Yeah.
Which is the funny part, because like I can think of like, I don't know, 5 very distinct decisions I've made over the past couple days in game where I feel like I could have swung way one way or another, dependent on just how I felt, how I slept the night before. I mean, I say that like sleeping specifically just because, sleep quality has impacted my life in a huge way, and I've struggled with it for a long time. And anytime I don't get really good quality sleep, I just lose focus very easily. And if I play more than 3 or 4 hours a day, it's really tough to really be on my A game. So yeah, it's just funny. If I pay any sort of attention to it, I start to notice these things. But I'm humble enough to admit prior that I was not so aware.
Yeah, this is also one part. Thank you for mentioning that. Awareness is a very key part, because a lot of people, they think this is so common, right? People come to me. I offer free calls for people that are interested to work with me. So they come into that free call, and one of the questions I ask them in that call is like, what would you like to work on? And a lot of time people come to me and they say, I have one problem only. It's just one problem I have, right?
Oh,
Can you
man.
solve this one problem?
If it was only one problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I know it's not one problem, but I'm like, okay, tell me more about the problem. And sometimes already in the call, I'm like, could this one problem be connected to this second thing here? And they're like, actually, yes. And then we continue like, what about this third thing here? Right? So sometimes they're already like more aware in the call. But even if not, a lot of times we start with that one thing, and then there's a second thing that pops up, a third thing, a fourth thing, and so on and so forth. And then at the end, we have so many things that we want to work on. They're like, I didn't even know that there are so many things that could be improved.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. I mean, I had a very similar experience with a therapist as well. I mean, the many therapists I've worked with over the years, but very, very similar experience. And it is quite stunning, how far removed humans can be from their very intimate emotional state. And once you pay any significant attention to how do I really feel, everything changes.
That's true. So self-awareness is a big topic as well that I work on with my clients.
Yeah, great point. So another thing we wanted to discuss today was, this is just kind of piggybacking off of our previous conversation is for example, how often should we be playing poker, and should we be more or less selective with our session scheduling or time frame selection?
First of all, I'll tell you what not to do, and then I'll tell you what to do.
Perfect.
What not to do is to play every day, right? Even if you playing the WSOP or something, right? Which might sound counterintuitive, but I also have a funny story here. It happened 2, 3, 4 weeks ago at the end of the WSOP, right? So I always tell my clients, if you're at the WSOP, and had many clients there, I said, do not play every day. Do not play every day. I said this many, many times. And some of them, they understood why. And there was one person who's like, I follow, I have a person I look up to. He's currently playing the WSOP, and he made a story, and he said, never take a day off. Even he's from the beginning to the end of the WSOP there. And he made a story today on Instagram, never take a day off. And then we continued, and he told me this guy took his phone and he looked like a zombie, right? It was the end of the WSOP.
Yeah, shocking development, really. Yeah.
He's talking he's never take a day off. He's falling down the stairs nearly while talking in the camera.
Yeah, you can see the bags under his eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Super tired, exhausted, white skin. He's like, never take a day off. it's a WSOP. The games are so good, like this.
Yeah, that's how I feel every time I see a David Goggins video. It's like this guy is like running like 12 miles a day, and he's just like, never, don't be a bitch. And it's like, I mean, obviously, it's just like other people have standards for themselves that every human isn't going to meet for themselves,
Yeah. So the reason why we should take a day off is because the way our brain works is like a rubber band, right? If I take a rubber band like this and I stretch it, it's fine. If I stretch it more and more and more, at some point, bam, it will be destroyed. So we want to stretch it until a point where we know, okay, and then we relax, to have more capacity. And this is basically, in a very simple way, explained how our mind works. So we should take at least one day off per week where we really relax. What I would do is I would be very aware of how good of a quality of a session I can do, right, today. For example, I would recommend, this is one of the first things I teach my clients, is to start tracking their performance. All right. So what we do, we have certain KPIs and we track them, and then we see how good of a quality the session was. Right. In part 1, we talked about if you have a losing session, but you played the best session of your life in terms of performance, the losing session doesn't feel that bad. So this is what I train on, what I train my clients on from the very beginning. So then we see, let's say you rate your performance and you say, today I played 8.5, right? The score is 8.5. And then the next day it's 8.1, and then it's 7.5, just as a very simple example, right?
Sure.
And then it's 6.5. And then we say, right, we need at least 6.57 to beat the stakes we play in. And then maybe it's time to take a day off, right? So that's a very simple way to track your performance. Or sometimes you wake up in the morning and today is the day you want to play, but you just feel tired or exhausted or whatever. Then I would say sometimes skipping a session can make you more money than playing. And I know for people that are new into poker, they're like, how can skipping a session make me more money than playing poker? Yeah, it's obvious.
And I'll tell you right now, anyone who has been a pro for a long time, there's going to be the exceptions, there's some people that just, they don't fatigue significantly when they struggle with sleep, or they just don't struggle with sleep at all, or their diet is just so consistent that it doesn't matter, whatever, etc. But anyone who is impacted by these things and has been a pro for a long time will tell you right up front, this is a very significant factor. And anytime you go on long stretches, of days or maybe a week or two of bad diet or bad sleep, your brain and your decision-making ability is just very obviously hindered. And this is something I've struggled with significantly. And it is very, very important. Yep. Yeah.
So skipping a session is sometimes plus EV, because it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And I also know when I started poker, everyone said play as much as you can, every hand counts. And yes, that's true. But if you're in front of your computer and you're just like a zombie, as I just said, and you just you cannot even see the cards properly because you're so tired or so exhausted. Yeah, maybe it's time to end the session,
I think you have to qualify the statement okay, play as many hands as you can while you feel like you're playing your best. Or playing at a high level, so I feel like, we kind of have to qualify that. Certainly I would never advise anyone, even if it was some guy I'm staking, I would never advise him to, get 3 hours of sleep and then play a full day, never. I'd rather you just send the bankroll back,
Thin line between the quality and quantity. So yes, you want to play as many hands, but as you said, the quality should also be as high as possible. And this comes, by the way, with self-awareness. If you're self-aware enough to say, today I should play or today I should not play, if you have that level of self-awareness, it's already a very good first step in the right direction.
Definitely. And so, so good segue into this last point I want to discuss before we end here is just specifically on a poker player's ability to focus. So, do you have any, stories or anecdotes you could share with us regarding like in-game focus, or maybe worded another way is like playing A+ game?
Mm-hmm. So let's start with the A+ game, right? Because for me, focus is one part of A game.
Right.
This is important. So it's not that like high focus means I'm playing my A game. There's much more to it, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you can have high focus and tilt, for example, right? It's the same, right? If we tilt, we can also be focused, but we don't make good decisions because we tilt, right? With A game, I think the session rating and the performance rating comes in very handy, because what I also do with my clients, I let them rate their session, and I also let them write down what they can improve. So sometimes they see already themselves like, my focus was low. How can I improve my focus? And one of the focus killers is this machine here. Yeah. This is one of the biggest focus killers. And I always say everything that can distract you should be gone from your table, right? Out of sight, out of mind. This is the key lesson here. And if you just, for example, if you put your phone away from the table, and I would advise everyone who is not believing me, just try it out for 2, 3, 4 sessions. And I'm very sure you will see a difference. Because it's very temptatious to just like glimpse at the phone a little bit and like, oh, I have a new notification from Instagram. Let's see.
Yeah. My big one is Discord. I'll have so what I had to quit doing was, so what I had to figure out how to do is, I would close Discord, but there would still be like message notifications pop up at the bottom of my desktop, and I would click open, and then I'd just start scrolling, and I'd have like 6 tables up. It's like you can't. I mean, just to reiterate on something I said towards the beginning of this meeting is there are very throughout the course of every session, there are almost a countless number of decision points where you make, some minuscule amount of money. However, if you're not paying very close attention, it's very easy to fuck it up. And this happens so many times every session. And there have been countless times over the course of even the past few weeks that I can remember where I click a button and then 4 seconds later, I'm like, oh man, I should have clicked another button.
Yeah.
So no, very important. And like as a human, playing the game of No Limit Hold'em for a living, where every decision is very abstract, and there's no like very clear on the surface decision, especially on like turns and rivers, and especially in like very big pots. It does demand like 110% of your focus that you have available.
Yeah.
So,
and
yeah,
to also jump in here very quickly. If you play a certain stake, I think your opponent also knows what to do with pocket aces or ace king or whatever, right? So then the knowledge difference between two people is not so big. Yes, there's a gap between people, but the gap is not as big as, for example, if you like play low stakes, right? So how is it possible that one person absolutely crushing the stakes and the other person maybe has the same level of knowledge, but struggles to make it above NL 100, NL 200? How is that possible? I think it's the mind.
Yeah,
That's what I personally think.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. Like the way I view it nowadays, I had no concept of mental game back when I like first became a professional, which is kind of hilarious in hindsight. But the sort of the way I view it now is like maybe they're not two very distinct departments, but sort of how I view it is like there's the theoretical knowledge and the poker specific knowledge, and then there's like the executive ability. And they're obviously both very involved with each other, but if one is lacking, it almost renders the other one useless. And for obvious reasons, if you're severely lacking in your study, for instance, like the rigor of your study, you're going to struggle. If you're struggling and if you're going out drinking with friends every night and you're getting 4 hours of sleep, you're going to struggle. It's inevitable. I have a much more like balanced and healthy perspective on it now, than I did back when I was a dumbass like 21-year-old. But yeah, I'm grateful for the perspective I have now. But yeah, can't be emphasized enough. Like these are two very important departments involved in our decision making.
And I see it as my mission to, like, because as a mindset coach, yes, yeah, you want to be known by people, and you want that people say good things about you, obviously. But I think it's my mission this is how I see it, is to like show more people the importance of mindset work, because I still think there are a lot of people that don't see the value in this area. They think like, oh, if I study 24/7, that's all I need. But I think poker developed in such a way that even if you know how to play a hand perfectly, you can still struggle because, as you said, right, there are mindset leaks that come up.
Like I think there are people that are just abnormally ingenious and have just studied so many countless hours that the very deep levels of the game are a bit more intuitive to them. So executing high level play is not going to be as difficult and doesn't require like really high level focus and that sort of thing. But that's not the majority of people. And for the majority of players, improvement in this department is going to yield better results than, studying that other database of flops and cutoff versus small blind 2-bet pots that you haven't touched yet. I'd rather, my initial recommendation is like start to get the 8 hours of sleep every night and then go from there, or resolve some things with your therapist and then go from there. If these sorts of things are inflicting issues upon your cognitive abilities day to day,
Definitely. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of points here in part 1 and part 2, and if people watch both parts, I think they gained a lot of knowledge.
I know this is kind of lengthy.
Do you have one more question or one more topic that we can talk about?
How does variance have the biggest impact on a poker professional's mental game?
That's a very, very big question.
It is. So the follow-up to this, so I can give you some bait, is how does this impact their self-perception?
Yeah, for some people, it's a very big topic. And I think I said this in part 1. Had people come to me and completely living in an illusion. They're on a heater, on an upswing, and they think they're poker gods. Yeah, they literally told me, I feel like a poker god. Yeah, literally. Yeah. So of course, just if you have like you win a few hands and you feel like completely different. But also on the other hand, I had people that lost money and they were not able to leave their apartment because they felt so bad.
Yeah.
So some people, they really have a big impact or get impacted a lot by variance. Other people, not so much, but the people that are not so affected, not always, but sometimes could go in the gambling direction. They're like, man, I don't care, man. Like, I lost a bunch of money. Let's continue. You know, like sometimes they
haven't
so
been
chill.
punished. Yeah.
They're so chilled that I'm like, mate, you lost multiple, I don't know how many thousands of dollars you lost, and you're like super chilled, you know? Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's like borderline concerning at that point.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad you're, zen, but like this is almost too zen.
Yeah. They're like, let's see, man. You know, they're
just like yeah, fuck it, we'll put the money in.
Exactly. So it's really depending, but I think there's one universal concept in mindset work, and this is that every extreme is bad, right? So every extreme in terms of being too chilled is not good, but also being too concerned is not good.
Yeah.
So if we know that there's a universal concept which says every extreme is bad, that means balance is the key, right?
Right.
So yes, you should be aware of your results. You should be aware of like, do you have an upswing or downswing? But at the end, it should not impact yourself, your own perception, and also extremely important, your relationship to others. Because I also know, like my past, you know that I've been a dating coach before.
Right.
When I started with poker players, I didn't understand at the very beginning that some people, when they have an upswing, they're like, oh, like I have no problem talking to people and I'm super social, and then they're like very ease with themselves. And then the same person having a downswing, they're like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to talk to people, mate, 1 month ago, you were the complete opposite, right?
Yeah.
Now I understand it better.
Yeah.
Now I understand it much better.
Totally. I've been there. Like, I went through a really rough downswing, earlier this year, and it significantly impacted the quality of my relationships, romantic and otherwise. I just like, kind of was kind of closed off and really wasn't enthusiastic about reaching out to people and like calling my parents and, all this and that. So that's another huge part is like, when we talk about mindset work, it like the reason we're here is to get back to, on a very surface level, is to get better at poker. But the reason we're playing poker is to improve the quality of our life. So, like obviously we're doing this for a living financially. But a living isn't just strictly finances. It's the quality of life as well. So that can't be overlooked.
Yes. And I think that's also when a mindset coach can come in and help you to balance, find the balance more, let's say.
And, ladies and gents, Karim was a former dating coach. So if you do find yourself working with him, he might be able to help you out a bit in that department.
Yeah.
I've actually heard very, very good things about your dating advice, by the way. But you didn't hear that from me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I think we can wrap it up here. It's a nice way to end the conversation here. And again, thank you for joining me. We have recorded 2 amazing videos, and also here I put all your information down below in the description. And I'm sure people will reach out to you.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me.